Welcome back after the break, and we're going to continue looking at 2.4.5. Now this question I really enjoy because it's usually different than they usually ask. They usually ask the effect of the Kalahari high pressure system on the interior on South Africa during winter. But this question relates more to summer and the reason why we experience summer rainfall in the interior. And I'm going to explain this to you in a diagram. Explain why the South Indian high pressure cells feed more moist air over the interior in summer than winter. Now I'm going to draw two diagrams. Now this is winter, my first diagram over there. And my second diagram is going to represent summer. Now basically what happens during winter, we have the Kalahari high pressure system over the interior of South Africa. We got a very strong subsidence of the Kalahari high pressure because of colder temperatures, so it's quite strong with the sinking air. Now basically what happens, moist air coming in from the South Indian anticyclone high pressure system flows but can't reach the interior because the inversion layer has been created just below the escarpment. So basically what happens, this Kalahari high pressure system over there blocks out the moist air for reaching the interior of South Africa. And that's the reason during winter we experience clear blue skies because of the Kalahari high pressure system. No cloud formation because of the sinking air, because of the subsidence taking place. But during summer, different conditions prevail. First of all, the Kalahari high pressure system is much weaker. Why? Because we experience low pressure over the interior. So the inversion is high above the escarpment. And it's a weak subsidence because of warmer temperatures. So what happens now? Warm air can come in from the South Indian anticyclone. Onshore flow can be experienced. Now remember, it comes from the warm Mozambique current. So the air is warm and moist. Now we experience low pressure systems over the interior of South Africa because of extremely warm temperatures. Temperature increases, and what does air do when it's warm? It rises. So this warm air goes over, reaches the escarpment. What happens? It cools, condenses, and we got clouds formation and a great possibility for rainfall. And that's the reason we experience summer rainfall, because this whole inversion layer is way above the escarpment, and it allows the warm moist air from the Mozambique current reaches the interior of Southern Africa. Now let's quickly have a look at our next questions. Okay, question 3.3. Refer to figure 3.3 showing a satellite image of a rural settlement over the interior. Now if you look at a rural settlement, once again we need to go and define a rural settlement. It's unifunctional, there's only one activity taking place. For instance, farming or mining or forestry. Now if you look at this rural settlement, you can see cultivated land all around it. And there's a road. Now there's an enlarged photo. Okay, it looks like an isolated farmstead for me, all by itself. But let's continue looking at the question. Now pay attention to a couple of things before we're looking at the questions. There's the dam. This looks like a road. Okay, as you can see, this is the farms, massive cultivated lands. And this looks like the farm itself. Okay. Let's go and look at the questions that follow. Identify the rural settlement pattern in figure 3.3. Now, I will definitely say, if you look at that, it's an isolated farmstead. You don't see many houses very close to it, and it's definitely dispersed, definitely not nucleated. We don't see many settlements close to one another. So, it will be correct if we say this isolated. And it will be correct if you say it's a dispersed rural settlement. Now give a reason. Why did I mention that? Why did I say it's isolated? Because I don't see no other settlements close by. I don't see any other settlements close to that rural settlement at number 8, and that's the reason why I said there's no settlements close by. Okay, and you can see it's quite far from its neighboring settlements. Now, if you look at question 3.3, why is this type of settlement pattern associated with large-scale farming? Now, that's quite easy to be able to identify. Look at the size of the farm. Look at the land that's being cultivated. It's absolutely massive. It shows a large dam. There's the dam itself. So there's a couple of tips. First of all, look at the amount, the size of the farm. It's big. Look at the many fields that's being cultivated. Look at the size of the dam, and there's quite many buildings. Okay, so first of all, we can say look at the large dam. You can say the large size of the farm. And lastly, I'm just going to mention it, many fields being cultivated. Now, if you look at question 3.3.4, unfortunately, it's a question that happens daily in South Africa. Why does this settlement pattern make farmers vulnerable? And vulnerable means at risk to farm attacks. Now, the simple reason why is because of farm attacks, you're quite isolated. The security is not great, and you're very far from help, and even from an urban settlement where police might be found. So you're all basically by yourself, and your nearest help is quite far away. So what can we say? It's really far, great distance from other farmers. Because they are isolated. Okay. In a paragraph of roughly 8 lines, discuss the possible factors that will have influenced the location of the settlement. Now, when we discussed our theory bit, we look at the site of the settlement, and site plays a vital role when we look at it. Why did people choose to go and settle at that exact location? So we look at site and situation. Now, first of all, probably because of the flat land available, because it's much easier to farm on a flat gradient than a steep gradient. Think of the machinery being used as well, and to construct their houses and infrastructure. Now, the flat land, first of all, and then it makes it easier for machinery, the availability of water. That's definitely important for the site of that settlement. Availability of water, because what do I need the water for? To be able to water their crops. Okay, then the reason why they chose that area besides this flat land, but because they can plant their crops there because of fertile soil. And as you can see on the photo we looked at before, it's access to transport routes, because it might be that the farm is farming perishable goods, so they need to be able to transport their goods to the market, and largely there's a large space available for farming to take place. Okay, so that's the reason why they chose that settlement to practice farming. Okay, 3.5. Figure 3.5 is an article in informal trading. Now, there's a difference between informal trading and informal settlement. Informal trading do not add to the GDP. They do not pay tax. Now, if you look over here, you can see informal trading, it contributes roughly 29% to the GDP. Now, obviously, what does it do? Education seems to be very important to the small business owners. People develop some skills in the informal trade. And the reason why people are in the informal trade, because they are unemployed and they need to provide for their families. Let's quickly have a look at the questions being asked and about this case study. State 2 general characteristics of trading evident in this photo. Now, if you go back to the photo, you can see there's no permanent structure. Okay, it's all over the place and is usually located on the streets and pavements. There's no permanent structure and it's on the pavement. On the pavement and next to the road. Now, state the reason why the contribution of the informal sector to the GDP is estimated at 29%. Now, the reason for it, because it can't be measured. Because they don't pay tax. Not registered. And there's no legal registration. Taking place in the informal section. Now, if you look at our next question, 3.5.3, why do small businesses not have effective business models and expansion strategies as mentioned in the article? If you look at it, first of all, there's lack of funding. Now, you need to keep in mind the people that usually do the informal trading lacks education. Many of them did not even finish school. So they're just trying anything possible to earn an income. So first of all, lack of funding. It's not like these people can go into the bank and ask, listen, can I get a loan? Because they don't have much and they don't have the qualifications to back them up. And they can't provide the bank with a steady income and they're not even registered. So lack of funding and, like I mentioned, lack of education as well. And definitely, as you can see, they're basically situated next to the pavement, on the pavement, next to the road. So there's a lack of infrastructure. They don't have a shop, a retail space that they can use every single day. So they're going to be exposed to all the elements, harsh, sunny conditions, as well as rain. Okay. Now, if you look at the last question, 3.5.4, write a paragraph of 8 lines to explain the advantages of the informal trade on South Africa and disadvantages. I'm going to write it in bullet form. Now, first of all, unfortunately, unemployment is quite high in the country, but this informal trade helps people being employed. So it creates employment. Okay, it actually learns the people a trade. The people are learning a trade, so it makes people semi-skilled. Okay, what can we add this as well? Now, what it basically do, people can earn a living. Immediately, standard of living increases because of this. We can also mention it reduces crime because now the person who is unemployed actually have a purpose. Now, what's the disadvantages? I'm just going to write it over here. If you look at the disadvantages of the informal sector, it lowers the income for the formal sector. It's usually associated with illegal importations. I'm just going to write with illegal activities. For instance, pirate DVDs or illegal cigarettes. Okay, and just want to open a little bit more space so I can write over here. It creates pollution because there's no proper infrastructure if you look next to the side of the road. And what it does as well, no contribution to the GDP. Okay, and that's your disadvantages and advantages regarding our informal sector. That's it. All we got time for today. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I'll see you next time around. Thanks.